Hello, Matt G for IYT here. Today we're looking at the full license mock examination number 1, version 1.6, and we've reached question 53, which reads: when operating outdoors with power from an electrical generator, the fire extinguisher should be stored A. with the fuel store to minimise carrying in an emergency, B. inside the operating tent to protect from rain and excessive cold, C. alongside the generator for speed of access in the event of a fire, or D. where they are clearly visible and not alongside the generator or fuel store. So we've got an electrical generator, the fuel for which is presumably, say, petrol, could be LPG, maybe something else, maybe kerosene, some flammable liquid or gas, and the sort of situations where a fire extinguisher would be useful would be perhaps the fuel that you're storing that you haven't put inside the generator yet maybe catches fire somehow, or the generator itself develops some kind of fault and maybe that sets on fire, and so having a fire extinguisher available will be very useful for dealing with that. Should we store the fire extinguisher with the fuel store? Well, it would certainly help with minimising carrying in an emergency. It probably minimise the carrying a little bit too much, and if your fire extinguisher is right next to your fuel store, it's entirely possible that that could be engulfed in flames at the exact moment when you need it. So let's perhaps scrub that one out. Should we store the fire extinguisher inside the operating tent to protect from rain and excessive cold? Well, that would also be presumably inside the operating tent, underneath a table, around next to loads of cables, which would be a tripping hazard, and it might make it a bit more difficult to get to in an emergency. Perhaps not such a good idea either. Should we store the fire extinguisher alongside the generator for speed of access in the event of fire? Well, for the same reason that we don't want to store it next to the fuel store, you may very well end up with the fire extinguisher engulfed in flames along with the generator at the exact moment that you need it, so it's probably not wise to keep it next to the generator. And last but not least, we do have what seems like a relatively common sense answer: storing them where they are clearly visible and not alongside the generator or fuel store. So if either one of these ends up on fire, your fire extinguisher is not also on fire, and of course making it clearly visible, and you probably also tell anyone who was operating on the site or anyone around that equipment where that stuff was. And so let's go for option D. It seems like common sense. Scroll down to the answer, see if we got that one right. And of course for question 53, it is indeed option D. Thank you very much. I'll catch you for the next one.